Good day, everybody.
Good day, everybody. Welcome to episode 22 of the Good Day podcast, where Maxi and I talk about our adventures down under.
Number 22.
Yes, we got a packed week for you guys coming from, I think we left off, we were just at some roadside stop in between Tennant Creek and Cairns.
Yeah, right on the edge of the Northern Territory.
Yes, we're happy we've made it to Queensland, and we've did a lot of stuff in Queensland so far. We checked out the Gulf of Australia, or at least that's what they call it.
The Gulf of Carpentaria.
Yeah, it literally sounds like a name from Game of Thrones, the Gulf of Carpentaria.
Yeah.
Such a crazy name, pretty cool place. Yeah, but I think we left off, and there's actually nothing. When we were talking a couple weeks ago about how there really wasn't much to do between Darwin and Alice, we found it less to do between where we left off last and Cairns.
Yeah. No, there's really not much, but there was a popular waterfall that Kory drove us out to.
Oh yeah, so I don't know why we didn't realize this before, but there was designated routes that go across Australia. I'm not sure if we talked about this last week, but there's a route from Broome, which is in the northwest side of Australia, to Cairns, which is on the northeast. So it's about 2,000 kilometers long, and no one said anything about it. We just finally started finding out about it on just a random map that we had, and along the way there's things to do, and so we stopped at one of the waterfalls that were on this map, and I forget what it was called, License Falls or something like that.
Leichhardt Falls.
Leichhardt Falls, yeah, and it was absolutely gorgeous, and that's where we saw our first crocodiles.
Yeah, I think they were two freshwater crocodiles laying up on the bank right below on the river. And this was along the Savannah Way. That's the designated route that Kory meant that we were taking, but there were alternate ways to go. There was
just a couple side tracks and stuff.
Oh, side note. I need to challenge myself to stop saying the word like. I listened to last episode. That's the only episode Kory and I have ever listened to.
We listened to a couple of early ones.
Did we?
Mm-hmm.
And I say that word way too much, so if you're an avid listener, I just seriously want to apologize. Did I say it again?
I really want to apologize.
Yeah.
No.
So sorry. I'm going to challenge myself to do better.
Yeah, and this waterfall was nice, but at night it was for some reason, I think, Maxie woke up in the middle of the night and she was like, it absolutely stinks in here, in our tent, and immediately starts blaming me. She's like,
no.
Kory, you smell so bad.
This is a lie.
Previously, the day before, I went swimming in the top of the waterfall. There's all these cool little pools that people jump in, but it turned out the waterfall was just smellier at night. But
no, okay, what are you saying? Should I let you continue, or should I?
Yeah, you could say your side.
Okay. So the waterfall was beautiful during the day, and then literally come nightfall, the smell started to come out. But Kory and I go to bed early because it gets dark and there's nothing to do when you're
7 o'clock.
Yeah, when you're free camping, there's not much to do. If you're at a caravan site, maybe there's more to do, more people to chat with. But when you're free camping, you're just kind of let's go to bed.
Yeah, watch the stars and go to bed.
Yeah, or go read upstairs in the tent. So we were already probably trying to sleep by the time that the smell came out come nightfall. And it smelled so much like sulfur, rotten eggs, that kind of smell. And yeah, it just smelled really bad. But I didn't really pay much mind to it because I was going to bed. And then I kept waking up all night long to this awful smell because it's hot here in Queensland as compared to the freezing cold outback. So we had our tent windows down and we just had our screens exposed. And the smell was just flowing in, kept waking me up. It was so disgusting. Kory slept soundly.
Wasn't that bad.
And no, in the morning, we both wanted to get out of there.
Yeah.
We were like, whoa, this waterfall smells so bad.
Yeah.
And so it was this beautiful waterfall. Too bad that it smelled so bad.
Yeah, but the day before, I saw some people swimming in it and stuff. So I was like, oh, I want to go swimming in it. Like it'd be nice to wash off or whatever and just jump in, cool off. And when we went up there, everybody was looking at me like I was a crazy person. They were all older people, and finally, I was joined by a family that took their children in the like pools swimming. But it was fun.
Yeah, they told us that we
There was
did.
a croc 5 pools up, but
Yeah, they say
that was
that.
a lie.
Well, no, they said that it wouldn't be out of the norm to see a crocodile
Yeah.
5 pools away upstream. So that was a little concerning. And all the old people loved watching Kory swim, and I kind of got it
All the
into.
people here, they like to do is just sit and look at things
Yeah,
and do
they
nothing.
stare at others.
Yeah.
Actually, at this campsite, a car got stuck in the sand, and literally, you would have thought that something more entertaining happened because all the old men were out standing as far as they could out from their own campsites.
Just with their arms crossed looking.
Yeah, or with their beer in hand watching this driver. Um, but yeah, Kory, I may have thought, Kory kind of smells bad for like the first second that I smelled that. And then I quickly realized, no, that smell is coming from outside and it's not dissipating. So Kory is exaggerating.
Yeah, and then the next morning, we got up and we were just making some breakfast, making some tea or coffee and oatmeal. And we have our back door open, and so there was a camper like on both sides of us, but they was pretty far away, about like 30 yards on each side, maybe a little further. And then all of a sudden, I see this guy just walking up on like kind of on our blind side, and he comes around the corner of our car, and he's like, "Good morning." And I was like, "Oh, hey, how's it going?" And all he says is, "You want to see a croc?"
You want to see a croc?
Yeah. Oh, it was just so funny that that's all he said. You want to see a croc?
You guys want to see a croc?
Yeah.
Do you want to see a croc?
Yeah.
So Kory and I keep quoting that. It was very iconic, and he
Yeah.
pointed out a crocodile. I couldn't see it.
It wasn't even really a good croc spotting. It was just like his eyes peeping out from the top of the water, like the day
That's
before.
educational.
Yeah, that's educational. True.
It was lurking.
It was lurking, and he's like, "Oh, the croc looks like it went up the hill there, mate." Yeah, so it was funny. Like some of these little Australian, the Queensland interactions, I think have been pretty good so far because they're all like very Australian out here.
Yeah, I love Queenslanders. So then Kory drove that whole day to the waterfall, so I drove the whole next day.
With some off-roading sections.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did. But I want to say Kory's been in such a rush to get to our destinations along these like long road trips, and
Not in a rush.
well, he just puts in long driving days, is what I will correct myself to say. And for some reason, he chose the most boring road trip segment to take it slow. So by driving all day, we mean 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, he chose the route with nothing to see to go nice and slow to our destination.
Well, you get anxious sometimes, like how when you see on your like Google Maps that it's a 33-hour drive from Uluru to Cairns, you're like, oh, we should probably take some hours down, like, and we only have like 8 days to get there. It's like, oh, like I don't know, but
It's okay. No, it's been fun. It's been
but
fun.
I'm really happy with our pit stop that we did decide. These house sitters told us to go to 2 spots along the way, and one was Lawn Hill National Park, which sadly said was online. It said it was closed. But then we talked to some locals, and they were like, no, it's open. But I think it was actually
she's
closed.
Wrong.
Yeah.
She's wrong. It's literally the National Park website. They're so good at updating them. It says closed since March 2023 because of the flooding. So she has no idea what she's talking about.
Yeah, but Lawn Hill was one of them, and then another town called Normanton, which famously has the largest croc ever shot, I think.
Ever
Killed?
discovered in Australia.
No, yeah,
And
something
she
like
killed
that.
it, yeah. The croc hunter, Chris.
It was
killed
27 feet long. It like is absolutely massive. There's a picture of Maxi standing next to it, and it's a dinosaur. It's crazy, and it's funny. This croc hunter, like, there's all some museums about her, and her name was Chris, and she was a lady. And she's like, "Oh yeah, I killed 10,000 crocs in my life, and I only missed 3 times." But it's funny because after killing all the crocs and driving them near extinction, she was the leader of the charge to protect them. So it's kind of like, what's going on here?
She had no way to make money because she would
Yeah,
sell their skins. So she realized she had no other.
means yeah. So she
Yeah,
probably started a nonprofit and made money that way,
yeah.
something like
Or
that.
maybe she righted her wrongs and became a good person who wasn't just out here shooting crocs.
Yeah. Oh well, I jumped around a little bit. Normanton was after this little town called Burketown, where just a little stock up point, shoot some hoops there. And there was like this hot spring, and the hot springs we've been to before in the past are like places you could swim. Like,
Awesome lazy rivers that are so warm.
yeah, this one was somebody was drilling for water back in like the early 1900s.
A bore.
Yeah, water borehole, and they hit water, and this borehole has been producing scalding hot water ever since. It used to power the town's hot water, and it used to be a spa, but now it's kind of just like a little tourist spot where people go look at the little ecosystem that this hot water spring has created.
Yeah, I was touching it and Kory was yelling at me.
Well, I don't want to get you burned.
It was very hot.
Yeah, it was ridiculously hot.
And we finally are back with the kangaroos or wallabies, which we're really happy about. They're so cute.
And also on the Savannah Way, we've definitely seen the most snakes so far.
Yeah. We've seen more snakes crossing the road on the Savannah Way road in Queensland than anywhere else. And they're all just black, regular snakes crossing the road. But I want to say about the Normanton largest crocodile that they've ever found. I will post the picture on @GodayPod. I don't believe it. I guess I'm a huge skeptic of most things, but this crocodile is so big, this replica, that I just don't believe that that's how big the real crocodile was. But I digress. So Kory planned for us to go up to this town called Karumba for one of our stops.
Yeah, it just like I saw it on the map and it looked like a good place. Like there's not really many towns on the Gulf, and I was like, oh, this looks like a cool drive. It's only like an hour away from. It's like an hour
Normanton.
out and back, and I was like, oh, that'll. I had good reviews for like beautiful place to watch a sunset, like great caravan park and stuff like that.
Yeah, and Kory was kind of leading the charge here with this road trip from Alice to Cairns,
Cans.
and he wanted to stop there, and it was on the water, so I thought, okay. Even though I could tell that the road, like the main road, on these very little,
Towns.
small population of people and cars on this road, this town was like on this a 45-minute offshoot
It was out and back, yeah.
out and back from this road. So I was like, oh, we're going to like the middle of nowhere, but it's fine. It'll be the ocean. Definitely can't swim because of crocodiles, but it'll
Yeah,
be
cool to check
hopefully
out.
pretty. No, this town was awesome. We didn't
Yeah.
know until we got there. This town was really cool.
This place was the bee's knees. It was popping. It was basically exactly like River Ranch, and like a pure fishing village that was just like had a couple places to go to and just like very classic like Southern American style like place
Very
around.
Florida.
Yeah,
Tell them what River Ranch is.
So River Ranch is basically a rodeo cowboy place that's in like the swamps. Well, not even the swamp, just in the central Florida. Like I don't know, it's very. It used to be. It's a place that my family goes all the time, every year, basically. And there's a rodeo. There's like lakes to fish on. There's a canal there.
The people there are very Florida, very country, and what there is to do there is fish. Besides, like, doing the touristy things of the rodeo.
Yeah, and like, yeah.
So,
But this place was total Florida vibes, and
yeah.
it was fun. I mean, we learned that they're like the barramundi capital of Australia, and they, I don't know, there's just a really, really heavy fishing population. And the morning we were leaving there, there was just probably 200 people lining the beaches, fishing all around.
Yeah, but before we knew that, we arrived and we're like, oh, pretty nice. Like, the beach looks gorgeous, whatever. And we got one of the last spots at the caravan park. And our neighbors, we'll get to them in a little bit, but they were talking to us, telling us that they're there for 5 weeks and asking us where we're going. So whatever. I asked them, where are you guys going tomorrow? And they're like, no, we're here for 5 weeks, because they're from Tasmania.
Yeah.
So,
it's just a place people like stay for a long time, and the weather was beautiful, just not too hot, not too humid, and nice ocean breeze and stuff.
basically exactly like Florida, but you can't swim.
Yeah.
So, but we didn't know how great it was yet, because I had thought that she just meant she was in the north, like far away from Tassie for 5 weeks. And she's like, no, I'm here at this caravan park for 5 weeks. This town really didn't have much. So
No.
you got to enjoy the little things to be here in the first place. And I was like, oh, okay. And I was so confused. Turns out a ton of people come up to this town and stay for a long period of time if they live in a cold place in the winter. So it actually was quite lovely.
Yeah, we really enjoyed it. We went to the Sunset Tavern at night and had there was like people filming a show there. I think I made some B-roll edits.
Yeah, Kory might be in this show. It would have been
Yeah.
like the Real Housewives of Karumba.
Yeah, we don't know what they were filming, but we had some barramundi for dinner, which was absolutely phenomenal.
It's delish.
Yeah, it was like a light, like a tuna almost, or like
Yeah.
a tuna swordfish.
Yeah, soft swordfish.
Yeah, it was very, very good. Yeah, but we forgot to mention when Maxi was, we were just driving around checking out the place. This guy in a caravan comes around a corner and like we pull over as much as we can, basically into somebody's sight, 2 inches away from a car. And the guy starts yelling at Maxi, move over more, move over more.
Well, I don't know what he was saying because he was so Australian. And I had my windows down and I was literally saying, I don't know what he's saying. I don't speak Australian. And he was yelling at me.
He was just trying to say move over more, but he thought we could go forward. And I don't know. There's been a whole talk of like people like being bad caravan drivers. We had a conversation later on with our current house sitters, and
Yeah.
it's pretty
But
funny.
the man, I basically ruined the landscaping at this
Oh, yeah,
caravan
you
park.
just
'Cause
drove
I had,
over a garden,
yeah, I had to drive over their garden so that he wouldn't hit Kory's bike tire. He was millimeters away from smacking Kory's bike tire with his massive mobile home.
It's the worst caravanners. I've come to the realization if you're not in a rooftop tent, you're a loser. Caravanners suck. They're the
Even
worst.
if you have bad knees and you're 80, you still have to do
Climb
the
your
rooftop
rooftop
tent.
tent. Yeah, it's
That's Kory's theory.
yeah.
Anyways, so like I said, there were Tassie people next to us. They were very excited. And when we pulled up with our Tassie plates, they came up to us and they couldn't wait to talk to us. Sorry to disappoint, but we're just Americans.
Yeah.
There's also another Tassie car, but I think they must have overheard that we weren't from Tassie because they did not care to talk to us.
Yeah, they're across the way.
But the people on the other side of us were from Victoria. They were long-term residents of the caravan park
Yeah,
for
like
the winter.
6 months or
Yeah, like half the year in this town. Both were obsessed with us. We made good friends with the retired people on either side.
We went out to dinner, and the next morning they came over to us, and they're like, "Oh, where were you? We were gonna have you bring some fish over to you for a fish fry."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was even before we met her. She was just like, "Where were you last night?"
Yeah. That was pretty funny.
So we had fun talking to the Tassie people, and the guy was a potato farmer.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Like, he was a full-on farmer, and he was like, "Oh, you guys are you guys gonna do any farm work? I love having Americans. They actually want to work, and all these Australian guys just want to go hang out at the pub and watch footy all day."
Yep, so that confirms our theory that Australians don't really like to work.
Yeah.
And then the lady from Victoria, she was talking our ear off the next morning. We were trying to check out of the caravan park. She was so nice, though. She invited us to come visit her in Victoria if we ever make it
Yeah.
down. She's like, my last name's Horton. Come find us. Anyways, she was saying that she was a party girl, and then her husband proposed, and she was like, what? I'm going back traveling. And that she didn't want to get married and she didn't want to have kids, but somehow she has 4, and she was giving us all of her kids' life stories.
Entire life story, yeah. That's what people love to do, is just like, they start talking, and then they're like, oh, yeah, my youngest daughter, I only have one grandchildren from them. They're a bit weird. I want them to have more kids.
And yeah, she gave us way too many details on the birth of her grandchild.
Yeah. Just like, we're such strangers. I guess if you want to get to know someone, tell them some personal details. But like,
yeah, very, very
but
odd.
I feel
but
like
she was so nice.
Yeah, like people do that all the time.
Yeah.
Just start like telling us things, and they're like, that's a little personal, but okay, thanks for the info.
Yep. But this town was so cute, and we went to the Sunset Tavern for dinner, like Kory said, and the sunset was incredible.
Yeah, it was firing, yeah.
Kory was persistent on, oh no, we can't cook tonight. We have to go watch the sunset. That's what people do in this town. So we did. And it was one of the best sunsets ever. The sky was
gorgeous,
on fire red.
Yeah, it was very, very pretty. And the next day, what else did we do? We went out to the
Barramundi Discovery Center.
Yeah, and that was cool. Like, barramundi's just like this super popular fish. Everyone fishes it, and this place was just basically the only place that stocks rivers. So they grow up little barramundi there, and
for all of Queensland.
Yeah, all of Queensland, which was pretty cool.
And then that made us hungry, so we went right back into Katoomba to get
a barramundi lunch. Yeah, and it's a really good fish. I like it a lot.
Yeah, it was so good. So on our way out, we had to stop back in Normington, that out and back from the main road, and we decided to go to the butcher shop there.
Yeah, we wanted to like Vermont Butcher was the one that had just like really nice, cool meats that were like a blueberry sausage or
blueberry sausage. We thought we would get something fun like that, but these are your
just classic.
Yeah, classic meats.
Oh, and the lady in there was very Australian.
Yeah, Kory just said, like, hey, how are you? And she was like, is that an American accent I hear? Which claps to her, because I am that fast at detecting accents, too. But
yeah, but she was basically just talking trash about every single place around her. She's like, oh, that's not good. Don't go there.
That's crap.
That's not good. Yeah.
Well, she wanted to give us recommendations because she was enjoying talking to Americans. And she's like, don't go to that town. That's crap. The pub in this town is good, but food shit.
Yeah.
Sorry. Excuse my French. She said everything was crap, Kory, and I started laughing out loud every time she said it, because every single thing was like negative in her opinion.
Yeah, she's like, the only good stuff is in this town here.
Yeah, and honestly,
it's a town of like 200 people.
I don't know if I could agree, but I'm happy that she's happy there.
Yeah, and then we started our big drive. I think from Normanton to Cairns is about 10 hours. So we still had about 4 days to get to
our dog sit.
Yeah, so 3 or 4 days, and we found like just random towns to stop in. There was one town that had like a pump track that it spent 15 minutes on going around on the bike, which was fun. And then a ton of the area that we had to go across was just single lane roads.
Up hills too. Like you couldn't see if someone was also on that single lane road coming at you on the other side of the hill.
Yeah, so what they did is they only paved the middle section, and on either side was just dirt or just like gravel road. Like, why not pave, if you've already paved this like little bit, just pave the whole road. It's like,
yeah.
And we were talking to some people about it, and they're like, oh yeah, there's not a demand for it. There's like not too many people drive that way. I mean, there's people driving. Like, it's not like there's nobody here. It's just silly.
I've seen other less populated roads than that.
Yeah, that have double lanes with like passing, but that's a bit odd. And I don't think we've seen that elsewhere in Australia, but
Australia has like 10 roads across this whole country. Just pave them all.
It's ridiculous. And
spoken like a true American.
Did we get steaks from the butcher or no?
No, we had steaks in the fridge from before.
Yes, but that night we camped out, did a little free camping in just a random gravel lot, and it was just classic red dirt and steaks, mashed potatoes. Can't really beat a classic night like that.
A man's dream.
Yeah.
And
Sleeping
that's
in a tent, that's the best.
and the stars are so amazing too.
Yeah.
But that same morning after that, when we woke up with surrounded in red dirt, we drove out to the tablelands where our
Yeah.
dog sit is.
So there was not. This was probably one of the most contrasting days we've ever had. We woke up in this like all red dirt, classic Australian bush camp,
Dusty.
dusty, like all red, and then 4 hours later, 3 hours later, we drive and we get into this lush rainforest that is rolling hills. That it's like, it looks like tropical mountains that you'd see in like the Virgin Islands, and it had all green fields that are like, I picture what England looks like, of rolling like rolling hills of grassland and like all sorts of sheep farms, cow farms, and it was just an incredible transition from one side of Australia to another, and it kind of happened in a flash, really. It was just one point it was dirt and red dirt, and the next point it was lush green rainforest.
The rolling farms were incredible. I mean, we're still surrounded by them, but the hills with all the cows and palm trees on these farmland, classic like UK style farms
Yeah.
and hills with like Bali palm trees
Yeah.
and rainforest.
Just like there's like cow farms with palm trees in the middle of them. It's just like, how does this place even exist? It's just absolutely beautiful. Maxi really needs to get a cow here.
Yeah, everyone's got the cows, and I need the
You need a
cows.
heifer.
But Corey and I, maybe we'll buy a farm here one day.
Yeah, this is actually one of the only places in that I've been to here where I was like, well, I don't know if it's just like being in the desert in the bush so long, getting to somewhere that's green and nice is like, it's such an uplift to your spirit, because it's like, oh, this isn't really like this depressing, cold, hot desert anymore. It's really nice, and I think it was one of the first times where I was like, oh, I love this place. This place is amazing. Like, I can see why people get that feeling of like, oh, I can stay here. But I think this is the first time in Australia where I was like, wow, I could stay here.
Yeah, I had that feeling too in like a different way because I feel that way about a lot of places. But yeah, I said to Corey, like, this isn't really like an investment type of Airbnb property in my head. This is like, I could like,
You could run a farm there. You could run
yeah,
your
I could
farm.
have my own little house here, or at least a part-time house because I got to be near the ocean. However, very close to the ocean in Cairns.
Yeah, and then we did like driving days, scenic days, and there's so much to do around here compared to the desert and compared to the outback bush. Um,
So
and
yeah, we did a waterfall circuit.
yeah, we did some scenic drives around through Ravenslow, which is uh, popularly known as like one of the highest towns in Queensland, because
Yeah.
it's just in the Tableland Mountains, so it's like 1,000 meters above sea level. And a little town called Millamilla that we both liked, and a little waterfall circuit that was really cool.
Yeah, I loved Milla. And then we did all those waterfalls. We hopped in Milla Falls. Was that the one we
I think it
swam?
was Millamilla Falls, yeah.
That was really the only one that we went to that you could swim in.
Yeah, the
So
other ones were a little sketchy, but they were all like, there's hundreds of waterfalls around here, and we just did like an hour circuit and saw five, six
five
of
or
them.
six, yeah. That was fun. And we stopped for. Corey's been trying to eat my diet because he thinks he could do it better. Although
No, because I want to support you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure.
Yeah.
No. He basically does eat gluten-free, dairy-free with me when we have meals together, but then he'll normally make like a peanut butter and jelly on normal bread
Or
or
just have a hamburger out and about.
yeah, if we're out to
Fish
dinner,
and
he'll
chips,
just
yeah.
get like fish and chips or something or a burger. And
But
that's
I'm
fine and
committing
all.
to it.
But like when we eat together, we eat gluten-free, dairy-free for the most part. And I mean, I eat the diet perfectly. I don't know what he meant when he said he could do it better.
Just do it better.
I don't know what that means because I do not eat it at all. But we went to this place called Mungali Biodynamic Dairy, and it was calling our name because Marshall Boris, our visitor back in on the West Coast, he told us what biodynamic is, and it's growing either wine or milking your cows or something according to the lunar schedule. So full moons and new moons is kind of when you do your work. So this dairy farm abides by that. It's a regenerative farm.
Yeah, it's got all the nuance, like trendy words, and they're making it happen. And it was phenomenal ice cream, man.
Well, here's the thing.
It was all lactose
We
free.
just kind of went in there to check it out, and then we found out what Kory just said was their ice creams are all lactose free. So I said, we'll give it a go.
Phenomenal.
So good. So good. And I think that I'm not allergic to lactose. I never thought that was it. I just thought it was dairy in general. I think I can confirm it's just dairy in general because I was so itchy after eating that, like the next 2 days. So
Yeah.
back to gluten-free, dairy-free, even if it's lactose-free, I'll skip it.
Yeah, and we had so much fun. We wanted to make it to Cairns that day, but we ended up just camping in like a small caravan park in Milla. And was it that night we were eating, we were just getting prepared for dinner. We were going to have a classic British meal, bangers and mash and some beans. And
Aussie meal.
yeah, these
Well, they don't eat really beans here, but they have bangers and mash.
All these campgrounds have community kitchens where it's like basically you go in there and you socialize, and sometimes it's a hassle if you don't want to talk to people, but like other times it's fine, and most of the people are really nice to talk to, and they like listening to Americans talk. But there's this one lady who Maxie got a bad vibe from instantly.
Yeah, so we're talking to this amazing lady who was washing dishes, and this other lady kept poking her head in and leaving and coming and going, and she asked us, she interrupted our conversation with the nice lady, and she was like, "What are you having?" And
she's like, "What you cooking?"
Yeah, so I told her, and she
like,
made a
some bangers
face,
and mash. She's like, "Oh,
she made a negative face, and she said, "Oh, nice," and left. And I was just like, I don't like that lady.
Yeah.
In my head, I was thinking this. And then Kory didn't notice her because he was facing a different direction when she made the face. But then what happened next?
Oh, and then, so I just finished using the grill, and when I turned on the grill, the thing almost exploded. And I told her about it. I was like, hey, heads up, like when I just turned this grill on, it like the propane leaks, and it's like it like pops out and almost gets you. And so I was trying to help her light the grill, and she ended up can't get in it, and I can't do it again for some reason. It was just acting up. But eventually we eat dinner and have everything, and then we're just sitting in there hanging out, we haven't even started washing our dishes. And then she comes up to us and was like, since I didn't use the grill last, you still need to clean it. And I mean, it wasn't even that dirty. I cooked like 6 sausages on it, but like, you're not someone of authority to tell me to do things. Like, I'm obviously going to do it, but just kind of annoying, and it gave me a bad taste in my mouth of her.
Yeah, it turns out she was like, sorry to say that word. The Like. I need to stop saying it. She is the partner of the really wonderful woman that we did like. So it turns out they were together. But, yeah, Kory, when we left, he said, I didn't really like that lady. And I said, yeah, I didn't like her from the beginning, but...
And it's happened before, like, where people ask you what you're cooking, and if you don't say, like, oh, I'm making beef Wellington tonight with a garlic puree of mashed potatoes, they're like... they, like, judge you for it or something. Because the last time we were like, oh, we're just making, like, some rice and beans, or, like... Every time people ask us, they're like, oh, you're making what?
Yeah, I honestly...
I don't know what the correct, like, what do you want me to say? Like, oh, I'm, like, these fancy meals do you want me to cook in a camp kitchen?
Yeah, no. That's why I have a fear of eating at work with coworkers, like bringing your own lunch and eating in front of them, because I hate talking about the meals that I eat, because people just want to turn it into a conversation.
Yeah.
No, just let me eat.
Yeah, it's pretty annoying, but we, that night, I hate when people talk about their dreams or, like, tell me about their dreams, because I know it's not interesting to them, but I'll be short with it.
Was that?
No, that wasn't about you. I love hearing what you dream about, because I know all you dream about is me. But
Exactly.
so I just had a random dream of like I was at the caravan park and like there was this Black Panther run through and like walk through the caravan park, and I just remembered I don't really remember my dreams that often, but I remember that one, and I was like, oh, I had this weird dream. Well, actually, I didn't tell Maxie yet, but I was just reading these like things to do in the area, and there was like this local legend of like back in the 1800s when the area was first discovered. It was a major logging area, and these farmers or these loggers would go through the area, and they would see this like mysterious Black Panther. So, and then there's this whole legend about this Black Panther in the Millamilla area, and it was like all over town basically, and it was crazy. We just thought it was insane that I dreamt of the Black Panther, so the spirit of the area was with me.
Kory is spiritually connected to this area, and he couldn't stop smiling too. He just the day before, the whole day
Oh,
before.
I was so happy to be there and out of the desert. It's like
I think
literally lifted my spirit so much.
Yeah, I think we need to get a farm here one day because Kory was just so happy here.
Yeah, it was really nice, and there's mountain biking trails here too, which is a big bonus. But there's also a ton of signs for cassowaries.
Yes. Do you guys know what a cassowary is?
So a cassowary is basically an emu, but it's super colorful, and it's the largest flightless bird on Earth. I think it weighs, yeah, I'm pretty sure it weighs like 120 pounds
It
and
has
is
a
like
really colorful head.
6 foot. Yeah, it's a bluish. It has a bluish face and has like this red little mohawk that is above it, and it's just this super unique animal.
I
There's
guess
only
they're aggressive.
yeah, well, there's not really too many of them. There's only about 1,000 left in Australia, and maybe only under 10,000 in the world. A lot of them are in northern Queensland and in Papua New Guinea.
Yep. So we are in search of a cassowary because there's all these signs that they're around.
Yeah, and
Then when we left, so we still were too early to go to our dog sit, so we spent a night in Cairns. But on our way from Millamilla to Cairns, we took this crazy route.
I cannot believe how some of these roads are just built. It's just like I needed to be in an absolute like race car going down this hill. Like I've never had so many more switchbacks in my life. It was just an hour of curvy roads snaking down this hill. It was called like the Gillies Road
And by hill, we mean
mountain.
Jurassic Park mountain,
Yeah.
like Hawaiian mountain on Kauai. Haven't been there, but the mountains look very mountainous.
Yeah, so it was
lush because we're in a rainforest.
It would have been so much more fun if I was in like a Lamborghini driving down that hill.
Yeah, of course.
But we're in our nice little slow Potato the Prado.
Well, faster than the caravans.
Oh yeah, some of the caravans are annoying.
But no, I didn't know Cairns was so much like Hawaii with these tall green rainforest mountains and the weather. Like it's gorgeous here. Very, very, very happy to get to Cairns and see that it was like that.
It was gorgeous. It's like a combination. It's like a Virgin Island or like it's so beautiful. Yeah, it's really nice to see, and it's so good to complete this section of the road trip and get back to the East Coast. It really feels like the hard driving is done, and we can kind of enjoy the spots a little more. And there's just the East Coast is way more civilized, and well, like not in that sense. Just there's civilization. The people here are civilized.
There's more to do here. More people. More.
Oh, and you know what I just saw? I forgot to tell you earlier on Instagram that Alice Springs. This was a list of the top 100 deadliest cities or most dangerous cities in the world. Where do you think Alice ranked?
53.
20th.
No way.
Yeah, crazy. But I mean, we didn't see any violence there.
Thank God. But yeah, guys, we have not had a house sit since Perth, and that was many, many miles ago, or kilometers, should I say. And kind of one road trip was Perth to Broome with Marshall, then Broome to Darwin with just Kory and I. Took a little road trip break in Bali, which was nice. Then Darwin to Alice and Uluru, and then Uluru to Alice to Cairns.
Yeah.
So It's been a
Feels good.
long time on the road, months. So now we are back in a house.
Yeah, it feels really good to be back in a house and in such a beautiful area. Like one of the so the two main exports of Australia are wheat, and the number two is sugarcane, which most of it is grown in the northeast here. And it's actually one just a stunning like looking crop because it has like green stalks like corn, but then on top it has like this pink feather like pom pom, or not a
Yeah,
pom
like
pom,
a
but like a duster.
fairy dust, cat's tail
Yeah.
top.
So seeing these like amongst the rolling hills, and it's just a really really beautiful area, and we're it's just so nice to see. It's such a
Yeah,
contrast from Western Australia
it's
and the
so
Northern
different.
Territory.
So, Cairns is a remote city technically, and that means
Backpacker
a lot of
Central.
Yeah, Corey called it Backpacker Central because this is a great place to get a job and live in a city, and that a job that qualifies as remote work or farm work. Some
And
people
there's
do the
always good
farms.
weather here. And
Yeah, so um, Backpacker Central. What is a good game you came up with while we walked
oh,
through Cairns?
so much fun to play this game. Backpackers versus homeless person. You have to try and identify if it's a backpacker or a homeless person.
Yep.
And I
There
think there's more backpackers than homeless people.
I don't think we saw any homeless
I saw
people.
one homeless guy, I think. Well, there was a
Yeah.
couple near the bank when we went to the bank.
Explain what these backpackers were doing.
Just laying. Oh, one of them. This was the worst one we saw. So there was like some construction next to a park, and this guy had his backpack, like he was resting his head on it, or he was like sleeping on his backpack right up against the construction zone fence.
No shirt.
No shirt, sunglasses on, beer in hand, sound asleep.
Yes.
Tell like that could be a homeless person, could be a
Drunk.
backpacker.
Oh, and it was the morning.
Yeah, it was about 11 a.m.
Yeah. So, definitely backpacker vibes. We saw a lot more of that. A lot of people
Yeah,
sitting in weird places just because they don't have anywhere to go when you're a backpacker.
yeah,
Besides
and
your hostel.
it was nice to be in like a proper. There's probably the biggest city. Well, Darwin was probably around the same size, and people were exercising, huge parks and stuff. And Cairns was nice. We walked around for a while, and
We spent the night in Palm Cove.
yeah, which is an actual beach. Cairns is kind of more of a bay that has like not really nice beaches, but Palm Cove was about 30-minute drive north and gorgeous, probably like 30-mile beach that just extended forever. It was a nice fishing pier. There was out islands in front of it.
It was gorgeous. Corey said it looked like we were in Indonesia again, like Southeast Asia.
Yeah, that
Gorgeous.
definitely did look like that with these like volcanic mountains and
The like turquoise
tropics.
water.
Yeah, and there's also the first proper mountain bike park since Perth. There's been a little bit in between. Like in Darwin, there was one that was like okay, and it was good for Darwin, but Cairns is known for its mountain biking. They have a huge mountain bike festival here every year, and it's like a World Cup cross country race there, and there's just a huge event. And I got to ride the trails there, which were so much fun. Really, like I've narrowed the list down of the best places to go in Australia. It's Tassie, Margaret River, and Cairns. It's too bad that all those places are exactly opposite from each other and so far away.
Seriously.
But it was really fun to be back on the bike and just riding every day. My goal is to maybe ride every day for when we're here, but we'll see if I get tired.
Yeah. So, and we got literally probably the last spot, the
No, it was
caravan park.
we
The emergency spot, they called it.
yeah, we called a couple places and they were like, "Oh, here's this spot." Well, we pulled up to this one and they're like, "Yeah, we just have the emergency spot left." And we're like, "Ooh, like I don't know, it's tight, but I guess we'll take it." Just because the other places were all sold out too.
Yeah, but this was like
The best one,
beach
yeah.
in Cairns, and of course we got the last spot because we're lucky.
Mm-hmm.
And we went to a cafe the next morning there, and it had an amazing service.
Oh
The guy
yeah,
was so attentive, and it felt like America.
I know it's weird going to all these places and you get just bad quality service, and then you get someone who actually cares, and you're like, you really appreciate it. So
Yeah, I think Kory wrote them a review.
yeah, so
Because he was so good.
yeah, going back to the States, it's definitely going to be something that is like going to feel good, is to have actual quality service at places.
Yeah. So then we drove along the beach to the next beach, Ellis Beach. And since all the flooding in the wet season, there was this massive rock slide down the whole mountain. Very tall mountain, guys. I know I've said it, but I'm going to say it again. This rock slide was huge.
Yeah,
It
was
looked like a
pretty nuts.
staircase of rocks going up to the tippity top.
There were some really big cyclones that hit this area, hurricanes for those in the northern hemisphere, um, that really wrecked this area last December. So they're kind of rebuilding from that. You could still see some damage, like the rock slides and stuff like that. Yeah, and before we wanted to head back, so Cairns was about an hour and a half from the place we wanted to house it, or the place we had to house it. So we stocked up on some passion fruits.
Oh yeah, my favorite fruit, guys. It's I wish I knew of it earlier in my life, but now I'm going to just eat as many as I can for the rest of my life. We went to Rusty's Market, a big like tropical fruit and vegetable market.
It's only on 2 days a week, and it was awesome. Cool
Yeah.
spot. Fresh, like all farm fresh stuff.
Got avos, peppers, ring onions, and then we noticed everyone was eating this thing called a pawpaw salad. I think pawpaw is the nickname for papaya here. And just everyone was eating this pawpaw salad. So Kory and I tried it. I really liked it.
Trash.
No, it was good.
No, it was fine. It was just like a salad that
Wet salad.
and it was like
Made of
spicy.
papaya.
Yeah, it
And
was just
spice and peanuts.
wasn't.
It was
me.
an Asian dish, but I liked it.
Yeah, so we started our drive up to
Kory went
the
biking again.
Tablelands. Yeah, and there was like a couple of things. We had some time to kill, and there was another waterfall and little town to check out. Both were pretty neat. The town was literally just a market. What was it called? Like Kumbura,
Which one?
the one we stopped in before Barren Falls.
Oh,
Mountain
yeah.
town.
I forgot about that. Yeah, not sure.
It started with a K, but there was like an old plane crash there, and there's kind of like just a very touristy town that everything was kind of shutting down. Maybe we'll go back one Sunday morning when if it's more popular then and there's things to do. But yeah. Oh, and before we left, I had they have pretty cheap gas down in Cairns, so I decided to fill up. And Maxi goes in and has like a nice interaction with the cashier, and I go in there and pay for the gas, and she asked me if I have like this certain rewards card that I guess everybody has down there, but we don't have it. I tried to sign up for it today, and I was like, oh no, I don't have it. And then she asked the lady who's standing in line behind me if she has the app, and was like, do you want these points? It's a lot of points. So she scans her card for the points
On our gas purchase.
Without consulting if those are my points. You don't get to decide where my points go. I don't want some random I mean, I guess it's kind of mean to say, but I'd like.
Well, you wanted to be able to make the choice to be like, oh, you can give it to the lady behind me, but
Yeah.
she just overstepped and said, "Oh, I'm just going to go ahead."
She was trying to do the nice thing when if she would have asked like, oh, is it all right for you to get do you want someone else to have your points?
Yeah.
Then I would have been the hero saying yes, and now I don't know. Now she looks better than me, but I tried to sign up to get the points today, and it's giving me trouble. She overstepped.
I think that
overstepped.
It wasn't about you being the good guy. I think it was just a strange interaction that you didn't even know that there was this reward system. She asked if you had the card, you said no, and she was like, all right, I'm giving it to the next person in line, your purchase. And she said, it's a lot of points. And that makes, she could have been like, do you want to download the app? She could have.
She could have said
There
anything
are other
else.
things.
But that was a bit annoying. And
Yeah. But then we checked out the most amazing waterfall. I think it might have been my favorite we've seen in a very long time.
yeah, it was definitely the biggest. And in the wet season, there's really two seasons here, wet and dry. And the wet season, the waterfall is just uh, massive falls. I don't really know how to describe this one, but it had a bunch of different cascading pools down, and it used to be an old power station, so there was like kind of a little dam at top, and it wasn't just like one free flowing waterfall, but it was a bunch of them that was probably 300 feet tall. It was
Yeah.
huge.
It was really amazing to look at.
Yeah, and they kind of made it into a tourist attraction, or at least it developed into one because over the years they wanted to develop a railroad from Atherton to Cairns, and this was part of that railroad section.
Um, but
And we got to see the train go by.
yeah, on the tree. So it was very peaceful. It was us and a few other tourists looking at the waterfall. You had to hike down to it, and then all of a sudden, this train pulls up and lets out hundreds of people.
So
Hundreds of people.
yeah, we were the only ones there, and then there was probably 500 people there.
Yeah, and then we hopped on the train and checked it out and hopped off.
Yeah.
But it was just so strange. We had to hike actually 15 minutes down the pathway to get a good view of the waterfall, and then all these people just show up out of nowhere. um,
Yeah,
but
that was fun.
side note, Jim Falls in the Northern Territory was probably the bestest ever because we got to swim
Jim Falls.
to
Yeah,
it. But this was like the most interesting to look at. I
yeah,
think,
has the most features and stuff.
Darren Falls.
But then we were like, oh, we're running late. We told our house sitters we'd be there around 5, and we're like, oh, this place is further away than we thought. So we hop in the car and start driving down the road. And all of a sudden, I see this like blacked out car behind me with no markings, and I'm like, oh wow, these guys are going pretty fast. I wonder if they're past me. And all of a sudden, I see those red and blue flashing lights, and I look down at my speed. I'm going below the speed limit, and I'm like, oh, this is weird. I guess maybe, I don't know what's going on. I'll just pull over. Maybe he's not getting me. Maybe he's going to a call or something. And so I end up pulling over, and he's actually pulling us over. So I was like, oh, what could this be about? And the day before, when I was biking, I saw like a bunch of people have like numbers, like not their license plates hanging off the back of like their bikes and stuff. And I was like, oh, that's a little odd. I wonder. In my head, I was like, is that what he's pulling us over for? Because he can't see our license plate. We haven't gotten pulled over for this, and we drove literally from Connecticut to Alaska and back on these Australian roads, and no cops ever said a thing to us. And turns out that's what he was pulling us over for, because he couldn't see our license plate.
I always imagined that our license plate in the back was
Pretty visible.
at the bottom of the car, like my car is back home, like most people's cars back home. But I guess come to find out, our license plate is on the door of that swings open.
Well, even on your car, the license plate is it on the trunk door? I don't know. But anyways,
I thought it was below. But Kory's bike, I guess the wheel,
the front wheel is blocking it, so
but
it's
not really though,
technically,
because you could see through the wheel.
yeah, so it's technically obstructing your license plate in case like you go through traffic lights or whatever, and they have to get your license plate number. And so immediately the cop walks over, all acting tough and stuff, and he's got like the breathalyzer thing in his hand, and he's like, I was like, does he think I'm drunk or what's going on here? And he's like, all right, take a deep breath in and blow. So he breathalyzes me, never been breathalyzed before, and we later find out that they literally do that to every single person they pull over, and it's just they could just pull you over for nothing and do a safety check. So definitely the policing here is more like crazy, strict, like, I don't know. And
Barely saw any police from all of Tassie, Melbourne, all around the West Coast, Northern Territory, and then we get to Queensland, and all of a sudden there's cops everywhere pulling people over.
yeah, and we heard it on the radio that the like people are complaining about how strict they are and just issuing fines to meet their quotas and stuff like that. So everyone's been talking about how bad the fines have been getting, and end up just talking to this guy, and he's like, well, we'll give you the small fine, and
Because you have a good attitude.
yeah, since you had a really good attitude with me, we'll give you a small fine of $129 instead of $500. Like, come on, bro. In the States, that would just be a warning. Like, go change your license plate. It'll take 2 seconds. And
Yeah.
went back to the house sit and changed it in 2 seconds. Just so annoying.
Yeah, so he thought that Kory and him were buddy-buddy after, because he's like, yeah, you have a really good attitude, you'll get the small fine. And he started chit-chatting with Kory, telling him that he used to live in Vermont, and he had a girlfriend from Vermont, and he still texts her all the time. And
Well, wasn't he like, yeah, I had a girlfriend. It's too bad. Like, what did he say?
he was like, oh, she's no longer with me, because I think he had a wedding ring on, and he was acknowledging like, no, I did not marry her.
Yeah.
So he was like, no, she's no longer with me, and I truly, in the passenger seat, was thinking that she died.
Yeah, and he was like, oh no, she just broke up with me. He
No,
didn't say that.
he was like, I still talk to her all the time.
Yeah.
Which, okay, sketch. But we're not friends. Do not chit-chat with us if you're giving us any fine.
Yeah, but that was the first time I've ever gotten pulled over before. That went while I was a driver. I think I've been pulled over with Marshall and my dad before.
Called out.
Yeah. And then we eventually got to our house sit, and
they told us that every single, I think they said,
well, they guessed where we got pulled over. They're like, oh, was it in Mariba? And we're like, yeah, how'd you know? They're like, yeah, those guys are crazy over there.
And they said that 3 out of 4 of their house sitters have been pulled over there.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, my dad, my brother, and our other house sitters.
Yeah. Yeah, so I hate the police.
The guy that we're house sitting for was so nice, and he helped Kory relocate our license plate.
Yeah, and so we got to meet the new dogs. It's a beagle named Eric.
An old beagle,
He's
13.
about 13. A bluey named Gus, and a kitty cat named Dexter.
Yeah.
And the dog owners were really nice. They made us dinner the first night, and so we were settling in this. So this is Saturday night, right?
Yeah. So we talked to these people on the phone when we were in Broome when they wanted us to be their dog sitter, and we're like, cool, see ya in a few weeks. So
we like to get to house sits a day early, just so it's like you get to meet the dogs with their family, so it's not like a startling transition.
I mean, we don't like to, but like sometimes it's
I think
convenient.
it's proper. Sometimes. Yeah, it's just like proper etiquette.
If they're leaving in the morning, it's proper etiquette.
Yeah,
if they're
exactly.
leaving like late in the day, you can just arrive that same day.
Yeah.
So these people were like, yeah, we're leaving in the morning. So Kory said, okay, do you want us to come a day before? And they were like, yeah, come on Saturday, the day before. So we had it in our heads like, okay, we're arriving on the 13th. The sit on the website starts on the 14th. So you can kind of...
So basically we're sitting eating dinner, and we were just all chit-chatting with them, and they were like, oh, so when are your friends coming who are taking the trip with you? Are they like meeting you here in the morning? And they're like, oh, no, they're joining us for pizza here tomorrow. And we're like... Oh.
Yeah, they're like, we'll have a pizza party with our friends tomorrow night. So
yeah, so we were like, oh, so they're not... Are they leaving tomorrow night after the pizza? I don't think they'll leave there. And they never told us, but they were leaving the next morning.
Yeah, like they could have just said, oh, we already set our house sit to be that you arrive a day in advance. Don't worry about it. Just come on the date that it's scheduled. And it is a day in advance, FYI. But no, they kind of like bait and switched us to come 2 days in advance.
Yeah. And I don't know. I think they were doing this like to test us and stuff. Because the next morning, they were like, oh, these dogs... They love this long walk every Sunday morning. They know it's Sunday morning. So we wake up, and they're like, these dogs wake up at sunrise.
Before sunrise.
Before sunrise, because they need to go. They love walking in the morning. That's what they, we have no say in it. It's the dogs, so that's what they do. And we proceeded, I was like, all right, yeah, it's just a little walk in the morning, not too bad. So how long was it?
2 hours.
It was a 2-hour hilly walk.
Hiking these country roads and then hiking the
dirt biking off-roading tracks.
You guys, and we hiked to this lake, and the dog is just going nuts for them throwing the sticks in the water, and he's barking so loud at 6 a.m. I felt bad for anyone that lived in the area.
You hear that, Gus? We're talking about you.
Then we hike uphill on this off-roading track, and it is so steep, and I'm in the back. I am struggling, and I'm
no
fit.
Warnings whatsoever.
Yeah, they didn't say like, oh, this is gonna be a long one, put on your sneakers. I was wearing flip-flops, and
yeah, I thought it was just gonna be a casual walk down to the lake.
And Oh my god, they didn't acknowledge during the walk. Oh yeah, this is kind of a hard, like, strenuous hike. No, no word of it. This is just like their regular routine, and they brought us along and didn't really acknowledge. Oh yeah, that was like a 2 hour, 2 hour experience. But mind you, these people are so
Yeah.
nice. Like when we went down to our room after dinner the first night, and I asked Kory, so does that mean they're not leaving till the next day? Like, are we confused? Did we arrive a day early? And Kory and I were trying to figure it out. Kory was like, I love them though. Like, they're amazing. Like, I'm having so much fun. And I said, yeah, me too. They're amazing. Because they are nice people, but there's just been a lot of oddities here.
Yeah, and then there's some more stuff, odd stuff that happened the next day. Just because it's like an awkward thing being in someone's house that you don't really know that well.
And you're doing them like a free service.
Yeah, and you're not comfortable enough to be uh, I don't know, like take their cereal and make yourself a bowl of cereal, or let alone
Yeah.
even like.
Or go to the car and get our cereal and not offer it to them because we don't have that much left.
Yeah, it's just like a
It
couple
just
awkward things that like I don't know. It's a weird exchange here, and it was just awkward being in the house, and it wasn't like no awkward tension between us, but like
No, yeah, they were so nice, but it was just so weird to be with them for so long.
yeah, and
Imagine
then
just being living with complete strangers in their house, and you're expected to do a big responsibility.
yeah, we found like
Also,
the optimal time is like get there a night early, spend a few hours, they leave in the morning. That's fine, or even get like there 5 hours before they leave on their trip, 3 hours before they leave on a trip, and then you get it like make sure they know that we're not crazy and they're not crazy dog owners, and just to get to know each other a little bit, and then off you go. But these guys, they like invited their friends over to like meet us, and
yeah, they warned us the night before. They're like, "Oh yeah, our friends love to meet our house sitters, so they'll come tomorrow." And these were not the friends that were taking the road trip with them.
just a different set of friends.
They invited people over for lunch. No lunch was served.
Yeah.
It was just coffee served. And it was this very old couple who came to meet us, and this younger person their age named Jenny. And we all sat for 3 hours chatting. And
Oh
Kory
well.
and I were starving because we did not have breakfast. Because, like we said, it was kind of awkward to figure out how to do the breakfast thing when they weren't offering us breakfasts.
Well, to break the ice, this crazy lady, she first first thing she does, she sits down and starts talking, and she's like, "You hear? They almost got him." They'll get him. I bet they'll get him. Talking about the how Trump got shot in the assassination attempt, and not really acknowledging that we were Americans.
But she knew. She knew. She
Yeah.
was talking out loud, trying to get our attention.
And then just like something crazy, like why would you wish the death of any person? Like
Yeah.
on both sides, that's just such a terrible thing to do.
Yeah.
Like I don't want people wishing the death of Trump or Biden.
Yeah.
So it's just like it was a really weird thing to say, and then
The hosts came running out, and they're like, "Oh no, like we've been trying not to talk about politics." And then they said, "Hope you're not Trump supporters," and looked us dead in the eyes, and it was
just so awkward.
and yeah, it was just
But the hosts have been doing like I really respect them because they totally like because politics is just such a bad thing to talk about, especially when you don't agree on things. So like they did like I respected them for that. And then one of their
definitely.
friends like asked me respectfully like, "Oh, what do you think about the situation? Like it seems pretty crazy," which is way better than the "Do you like Trump?" Like
yeah,
yeah,
or they'll get them, they'll get them.
yeah.
So yeah, we didn't really love that lady, but
She was a nut.
and they just sat around talking about the most negative things for 3 hours, and Kory and I were starving, and we just we didn't care about the small town gossip, and also some of that stuff was so negative and depressing
Yeah,
that
and
we were just like, no.
And finally, one group left, and I got us out of it because I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go check out the biking trails in
Yeah,
town."
thank God.
And
Got food in town.
yeah, we immediately went and got food in town, and then went biking. And these trails were awesome. I saw a nice green snake that they said was non-venomous, which is always a bonus
Yeah.
to see a non-venomous snake.
Oh, and a really cool thing about these people we're house sitting for is he's a big mountain biker.
Yes, yeah. So we had plenty of talk about biking wise, and he's done a ton of races, and was a mechanic, he was a sommelier, he was a chef. He's a really interesting guy, which I like.
And Kory wanted to get a job at the bike shop in this town, and turns out he used to run the whole shop for years, but I think they were complaining about the new owner, and
Yeah, and it seemed like they wanted us here more than.
I think that her reaction to me saying, "Oh, Kory wanted to work at that shop," I think it was more like, "Oh, we don't like the owner." Now that I realized more things after they talked about it, but
Very true.
yeah,
But we spent a lot of the awkward time just like cleaning our car, getting our tent all clean, vacuuming, like.
they helped us try to fix this issue with our
Oh yeah, so our rear, like the way how to get in our tent is you go up a ladder that's like right in line with the rear, like fender of the rear wheel that sticks out a little bit. And one day I just like was coming down the ladder and accidentally stepped on the rear fender and the whole thing just popped off. So we've been trying to mend it together with like some tape, and maybe I'm gonna drill a screw into it or get some like glue to try and fix it up a bit. But they helped us with that and some other little things.
Yeah, they've been really good to us. It's just been like, I mean, first off, we didn't know we were going to be spending this much time with them, and luckily they're pretty cool.
It's just the exchange of like house sitting and dog sitting. Like in the States, we would be getting paid for this, like without question.
Yeah.
But here, they just have a different idea. They're like, we're helping you, and
Yeah.
I don't know. There's just too many comments about like, oh yeah, I really want to pay it forward one day and do house sits for other people, but like I feel like when you're in this exchange, don't talk about the exchange.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it's like. At one point they were like, "Oh yeah, we're saving you guys tons of money in housing."
Yeah, he put a number to it. He was like, "We're
saving
saving
you
you
$100
$100 a day in accommodation."
Not really, buddy, but
Yeah.
it's just like sometimes awkward exchange. But I'm really grateful that we have this
Yeah.
opportunity.
I mean, if they weren't, if they were Italian, we
Yeah.
would have been having great conversation, which we were having great conversation,
Well, we would
and
have been having.
being well fed.
Yeah.
So it would have been a win-win, but we were basically starving, and we had the pizza party with their friends, a different set of friends that came for the road trip the next day, and
Yeah.
there was not enough pizza. This other man was obviously starving and was
food
asking
out,
for.
yeah.
He knew them better than us, obviously, and he was going through their cabinets for extra food, and it was just like obviously we're all starving here, but
and
the next morning we had to get up at 6 a.m. again and walk the dogs, and this other couple who was going on the road trip came with, so we had to make a big event out of that because they were getting up to do the dogs as well, the six of us.
So we went on an hour and a half walk.
Yeah.
So it's been a lot of walking, and yes, spoiler alert: the dogs woke us up at 6 a.m. this morning.
Yeah. So I think just we thought that we were going to be arriving at this house and that they'd leave the next morning, earlier the next morning, and we'd just be able to enjoy relaxing after our long driving days and weeks on the road, and not having a couch or a real bed. And no, it's like you have to put on this show of like interacting with strangers in their house. You have to be very polite. It's like,
Well, it's just your social battery. Like, when you're meeting people for the first time, you're trying hard, you're being as social as possible. And just like it takes a lot of effort to listen and like contribute and all that. And we were just exhausted from all of our journey, from literally from Perth all the way here, and the chaos, and just we were so looking forward to just sitting back on a couch, throwing the TV on, reading a book without like distraction, and we had to like battle through like 2 full days of that.
It was like a surprise. You don't get to relax yet, and I think that's what made me extra tired. Plus those really strenuous 6 a.m. walks in flip flops. But yeah, now we're finally alone.
Yes, it feels good, and this is our first full day alone. Yeah, so it's nice and relaxing, and we are definitely enjoying it. Made some nice meals last night, and
Yeah, so
been biking every day. And here's the kitty cat. Hello.
Oh wait, we forgot to mention how so not only did they kind of like scam, I don't know if scam is not the right word, but scammed us into coming.
Mislead us on the dates.
Misled us into coming a whole extra day early, even when we were offering to come a whole day early anyways. But they we heard them talking to their friends about the day that they're coming back, and they're coming back a day early. So if we hadn't figured this out,
The house wouldn't have been clean.
the house wouldn't have been clean. We wouldn't have been packed up and ready to go. It would have been really awkward. But luckily, we figured out that they're coming back a whole day earlier than it says on the website. So,
Yeah.
I mean, come
Little
on.
sneaky there. Like, we would have been totally fine if they just were open and honest with us about, like,
Yeah.
hey, we would love for you to come, like, early on the 14th, just so we can get to know you a little better, and we're leaving on the 15th. Like, we would have said, yeah, that's fine. And then they're like, can you guys stay until we get back on the 27th? You can totally stay here an extra day.
Yeah, like if we're getting back late. I don't even think they're getting back late, but if that was the case, like just be open with it.
Yeah, you know what? Maybe it was they were doing that because on Trusted House Sitters, like the dates when you search for places, it goes 3 days, 1 week, 2 weeks. So like when people search for things like a 2 week filter.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe.
Maybe. But yeah, it just felt like a little weird, and we had to piece everything together through figuring it out ourselves about what their plan was.
Yeah, but it's been good so far, and the dogs are really well behaved. They are good on the leash, good off leash, and just they have a nice piece of property here where they kind of just get to roam around. And
Animals
nice.
are cuddly.
Yeah, and the kitty cat's sitting next to us right now.
We're really happy to have a place to chill.
Yeah, exactly, and
you'll definitely get another podcast out of us from here.
For sure. And
Kory will have lots more biking stories.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go on a bike in a couple minutes.
Yep. So have a good day, guys.
Have a good day. Thank you for listening.
Love you.
Love you.